So Max, this is where you fit in, okay? So 81, I studied with him, 82, 83, Bunch of Giants comes out, and I'm reading Fuller's predictions because he died in 83. Computers will make it practical. This is a direct quote. To electronify wealth distribution that accomplish the movements of goods and service, that is more channeled design structures, not Big Brother though, since no central planning authority. So that's that whole thing. And so when I saw your patent, this is my question, Max. Are you Satoshi?
Oh man, you got me.
Because you were tuned in too.
You got me red-handed. Well,
I should have listened to you when I first came across you, but I didn't understand it at the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, he also said things like, he talked about a synchronous database and synchronizing things around the world. You know, I personally, there's an overlap for me between Buckminster Fuller and this idea of synchronous databases and global money and the work of Carl Jung, you know, who I follow pretty closely as well in terms of his ideas about synchronicity and the collective unconscious. And I think that Bitcoin...
Max, you dodged my question. You didn't say yes or no. Satoshi.
All will be revealed. You know, it's all... everything is revealed at the time it should be revealed. You know, you can't let things happen out of the timeline that they should happen, right? Well, I do have a patent on a virtual currency that's from 1996. So the Keiser patent, U.S. patent 5950176. It's a virtual specialist patent, how to trade virtual currencies. So when I heard about Bitcoin in 2011, it was a leap beyond what I was thinking about, because all the virtual currencies and digital currencies up until then were centralized to some degree. All market making, all federal banks, all political considerations regarding money are all centralized. So the thing about Bitcoin that breaks it from everything else is that it's decentralized. And how do you create that decentralized network? And I think it's interesting because, again, getting back to Buckminster Fuller, you know, a lot of his writings, from you look through it through a political lens, you would say this is not capitalism. This is something else. This is maybe the opposite of capitalism. And yet the result are tools that enable those who could call themselves capitalists to do fantastic work as capitalists. But, you know, there are a lot of elements to this post-internet age. Like we have the free open source software movement. We have Linux, which is free, essentially free software. And during the early part of the internet age, there was this tremendous, and you would appreciate this, and you were there as well. There was a moment in the internet's history before it became completely corporatized, where there was this feeling of freedom of expression that was going to be this huge movement. And it wasn't until Bitcoin came around that we had a new chapter in this idea of distribution and decentralization and individual empowerment and individual journeys, where people have the freedom to delve into their own spiritual journeys because they have unconfiscatable money that's never debasing in value. So they have no worries. In other words, you achieve individual sovereignty. And I think that's where Bitcoin is heading. I think everyone ultimately achieves individual sovereignty. The whole idea of wealth changes dramatically itself. I mean, this would be a Buckminster Fuller idea, that his idea of wealth was very, very radically different than what most people consider to be wealth. So if you take that and if Bitcoin is the coin of his thinking, and then what do you have? If you had everyone thinking like Buckminster Fuller, you know, the world would be a dramatically and drastically different place. And with Bitcoin, we can get to that place, and we are getting to that place, and it is happening right now.
So Max is saying he was critical path of humanity. And then he came out with Bunch of Giants, which was the Fed, or beyond the Fed. Grunge was the people that controlled the Fed. And here we are today. He predicted Bitcoin. He predicted YouTube.
Well, he had an amazing confidence in himself as an engineer. And so he had a vision as an engineer, as somebody who felt that they could architect the future and future-proof themselves. You know, then is that a gift? Can you learn that? Where does that come from? I think in Buckminster Fuller's case, he felt it was below the surface, and he needed to reach in to grab that. And the only way he could do it was to make that statement, I'm not going to work for money. Because if you're working for money, it is a very short-circuiting loop of the incentives are terrible, and you end up digging a personal and spiritual hole that you fall into.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Markus Dahn, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I intend, how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Markus Dahn.